Hey guys, it's West here, and we're back with another episode of From the Crumbs. It has been a little while. Somebody messaged me the other day. They said, West, where the video's at? It's been a little over a week, and it's been a while since we did a From the Crumbs guide. In particular, my little hair bit's gonna drive me nuts right here. So I decided I might as well, I owe it to you guys to consistently create updates on my account to let you guys know how my progress is going. Don't worry, I have not at all stopped in my mind creating any content for you guys. I have been working toward a larger video, a runes to keep for all sections of the game video. It's going to be a fairly long video, around an hour long is what I estimate for the time after I talk about everything I want to talk about. So I have been working on that and working out the details of that in the meantime, because when I do upload these guides that can be beginner guides, even into late game guides, I want them to be accurate. I want them to be real portrayals of the knowledge I have in the game so that I can offer you guys the best quality content possible. But without further ado, I'm going to hop right into the account update. So it's been a little while. I've been doing a lot of testing with some stuff. So here's my Stella currently. I did make some changes to Stella that I really want to point out. So Stella's crit damage has gone up significantly. Crit rate has gone down a few percent, 2% lower than I'd like it to be. But her attack has gone up, her crit damage has gone up, her accuracy actually had, I think, a little bit of an increase. So we got this rune on her, which I would consider to be my greatest rune in my box. You can see that it is a legendary 6-star rune. It is a legendary rune. It's almost perfect. So it's 3% lower than max on defense, 2 speed lower than max on speed, and 1% attack lower than max on attack when it comes to maximum possible rolls. So we got 2 rolls into speed, 1 roll into defense, 1 roll into attack, and they were all relatively high, and then of course a max roll in accuracy. So this rune turned out really well, and I know it doesn't have crit rate. It doesn't have, people look at this, they don't see the crit rate, so they don't instantly get excited. But when you realize what Stella wants, and that is tankiness in the later game, you want lots of HP and defense on Stella as well as accuracy when you use her in places like Raid. When you use her in places like a Rift of Worlds, and if you use her in PvP as well, having that little bit of tankiness helps her survivability a lot. And so you get runes like this, and they are amazing, because these are the kind of runes that can accept grindstones from Rift of Worlds, from Raid. And so, effectively the defense can go up 10%, the attack can go up 10%, and the speed can go up 5%. And those are 3 stats on the substats that can all get increased through, grind. So it could be 21 speed, 23 defense, and 25 attack, which turns out really amazingly. And honestly, for a monster like Stella, you can kind of gimp the crit rate a tiny little bit. You stick around like 80%, 75%. You do want to maximize it the best you can. But if you can get that number a little bit lower in exchange for a lot more tankiness, which is what you do effectively when you add defense and HP percentages, because later in the game through grinds, you can, like I said, you can greatly increase those numbers. Same thing with the slot 3. If you could get a little crit rate or crit damage in there, it's cool, but you get 1 attacker based sub, 1 crit rate or crit damage sub here, then you get your speed sub, then you get your HP and defense on slot 3 since you can't get attack. And you can just skyrocket those percentages using grinds. So later in the game, those are the kind of runes you really want to value. And I was super excited to get this rune on Stella because I really love it. Also, this slot 1 is pretty decent. I'd grind out HP for crit rate, but this was a max base roll attack, double max roll crit damage, and then into a speed. I think I powered this up on stream. This is one of those orgasmic runes that I absolutely love, because in every way possible it is amazing. The only thing that could have been better was a 6% roll into crit rate. Otherwise it had a max, this was a blue rune, it had a max base stat and attack, max base stat and crit damage, double max rolled into crit damage, which is what you want, because increasing attack is great and all, but you can always get attack through grinds. You can't get crit damage through grinds, so you want to aim higher for the crit damage rolls, which it did. Double max roll is amazing. I know I'm kind of lingering on Stella a bit, and that is just because Stella is a monster that I think is really fun, and is a good example when it comes to looking at rune quality, mostly because Stella requires a lot in terms of everything for attacker, for tanks. You want a lot of HP, a lot of defense, a lot of speed, crit rate, crit damage, attack, and accuracy. So she wants literally everything in the game except for resistance. So I just thought that was some notable stuff to pick out. I was really happy, like I said, to finally put that rune on a monster. So I have been farming dragons all month. What I have done, however, is changed up my dragons team. So this team is 30 seconds slower than my Verdgallion Tark Stella chilling comp. I switched in Lapis for Stella just because my Stella isn't max skilled, which makes a huge difference as you lose the... I'm losing out on 15% on my defense break chance, 15% on my branding chance, which is really huge because that means the brand isn't landing 100% of the time, as well as a 1 turn in cooldown on the brand as well. So I miss out on a lot, and in addition to that, the team is super inconsistent because if you check out my glory towers here, my speed totem is only level 3, which means I'm missing out on a potential 10% speed, which may sound small to some people. They're like, oh, it's barely a third, or it's barely whatever 2/5 of a 2/5 of a swift side or whatever. 10% is not that huge. It adds up a lot, especially when you have a Verd lead, especially when you're getting the attack bar increase from Verd and the cool time reduction from Tark. So that really adds up fast. And on Stella, that's the difference between her having her abilities up or not. And that's stacked with harmful effect rate missing on Stella and the cool time turns being 1 turn higher on her brand, which is one of the big reasons why you bring her there. She's got the additional defense break, the attack reduction, but the brand really helps seal the deal on the dragon in addition to the defense break. So having that on a 1 turn longer cooldown and not being 100% successful can really damper your runs down a bit. So I switched her out for the Magic Knight on a very terrible speed crit damage HP build. This was like all haphazardly thrown onto her. I just wanted to get her the max on accuracy, hit 70% crit rate, and hit at least 160 speed. I would like her to be more like 190 speed, just to be more consistent, but like I said, I just kind of threw on some Despair Blade runes. Not optimal at all. What I would rather have her on is a Fatal Revenge build. And I am getting some Revenge runes as a side note, because I want her to have a little bit more damage up, because this is a speed team. We're not going for utility here. The stuns don't help too much. Where the stuns do make a difference is on the mid-boss wave. Occasionally my team will derp, and when that will happen, most of the time Lapis will be able to stun the towers on the sides, so that way even if they focus off, or if they start to focus off a target, one of the towers or neither of the towers will move, so I don't lose a target. The thing with the Stella comp, and I'll go ahead and play it in the background here so you guys have something to look at while I let my mouth loose, is you'll see one of my units focused off, and if one of my units gets focused off, of course I lose, because in a speed team you're reliant on your damage output being high enough where you're not too worried about the immunity at the giant or at the dragon, or you're not too worried about the dots and the damage from the dragon's major critical attack when you have dots on you, because that will of course wipe your team, especially when they're damage oriented and they don't really have much sustainability. So of course you need all 5 members, and so as a result here, if my team derped, right, and for example if they didn't land the defense break or didn't land the brand, and it could still happen here, I could still lose Verd right here, it would be a failure. And you'll see that they focus off, they'll focus off Verd. Sometimes the towers will attack whoever, because they're not really inclined to attack anything since the towers don't have an element. So you just kind of be wary when you're building your own team of things like that. And during the mid-boss wave, you can potentially lose a unit, or at least that's the only place where I've seen that I lose a unit. Of course I lose units at the boss sometimes as well, but the scariest place in terms of consistency for my team is usually the mid-boss, which is why I switched out for Lapis. And you're seeing here it's working pretty well so far. We haven't seen the immunity come up yet. Here the immunity is going to be up here, right here, and that sucks because of course Stella was a little bit too slow to get that 3rd skill off, which would have done a pretty considerable amount of damage. And now we're going to see probably a fail because we don't have chilling, which means we lose our ability to take down the immunity, and we're just not going to have the damage output through the shield, and especially with those dots we're going to get taken down really quick, which is why I'm not a huge fan of Stella, because you saw even with all of our units getting to the boss we still lost, and that's as a result of the speed tower, because if we did have that extra 10% speed, you saw Stella would have been able to use the 3rd skill, which would have reduced the dragon, which would have bought me a little bit more time. to use everything, which is why I'm using Lapis, because the Lapis team is fairly successful. I haven't had really any problems with Lapis in the team. You know, of course, we also have that extra defense break, which is nice during the waves. She's got the self-heal, and the Despair Stun, like I said, it's not huge, but occasionally you'll see it, you know, worked out all right. The big thing, like I said right now, is I want to get Lapis on a faster set, and I want it to be a fatal set, which is going to be a little bit tough because right now Tark is eating up the fastest fatal set I have, I believe. Tark's sitting, I think, just over 200 speed on fatal speed crit damage attack. I probably need to switch him over to attack crit damage attack soon, just so I have a little bit more damage output, because I'm sure I can increase that a tiny little bit as well. Although for the time being it's working pretty well, just because it synergizes really well with my really fast Verd. My Verd is 124 speed right now. I think he's plus 134, so or no, that wouldn't be that. That'd be 233. That would be the speed. We'll check it out after the run so I can clear it up. But in addition to having a really fast Verd, if we have a really fast Tark, then we can really get a significant amount of turn advantage, depending, of course, how that Tark decides to group up with people. But here you'll see just the attack bar reduction from Lapis by so many turns. Like, we've just reduced the tower on the right twice. We've reduced the dragon's attack bar a few times. Gives us that extra damage output. Now, it does greatly reduce the time to kill the dragon, of course. That is because Lapis doesn't have nearly as much damage output as Stella. Stella can easily quarter health the dragon with attack buff and defense break, which is, you know, fairly significant. But at the same time, like I said, we have a lot of survivability with Lapis, or a lot more consistency, just because we are reducing the enemy's attack bar, which is effectively increasing our speed. You could look at it either way, really. So we'll go ahead and see. Yeah, it's a 158 run, but we didn't really have any huge barriers we ran into with that. So again, here's the Lapis stats. Really nothing at all. You can see even with an HP slot 6, that's plus 14. She's got almost no HP, which is absolutely terrible. Her other substats aren't even that great. All these runes are very mediocre, except maybe this one. This one's pretty decent. Speed, crit rate, attack, and accuracy. But like I said, I do want to get her on a Fatal Blade set, so I'm working on that in the meantime, or a Fatal Revenge set if I can manage that. I've picked up a few runes here and there. So other upgrades, not really any to... There's none of Chilling, none to Galleon. Galleon's been the same for a long time. Here's my Verd Hill. My Verd Hill is faster than I thought he was. He's 147, or 247, I'm sorry, so plus 148. That's his current speed. He's on, you know, some of my fastest Swift runes, just because... to make this team really, really work. And you can see I still have some upgrade potential here. You know, 4 speed I could theoretically gain on this rune, and the 3 speed on this rune, because you know, 18 speed per rune is really, really obtainable. You know, not easy to get, of course, but, you know, fairly obtainable through, you know, blue 6-star Giants runes. And if you just roll enough of them, you're bound to get a plus 18 rune. So I can increase his speed a tiny bit, but I don't think Vertihil getting faster is going to help at this point. I think at this point it's all down to damage, except maybe making Stella faster. In the coming weeks, I do want to eventually see if I can swap some runes around to get Stella faster. She is almost scaled up. We're missing 4 Skelops. Yeah, we're currently missing 4 Skelops. We did get a Wind Assassin out of a scroll recently, which was fairly nice. Another monster that we got recently, I think we got one of the Boomerang Warriors. Yes, we got the Wind Boomerang Warrior, who, you know, I'm not super impressed by. Might be a fun toy to play around with later. She's got some, you know, harmful effect removal, whatever. She's got some weird stuff going on. We'll have a chance to play with her at some point in time. Upcoming units that I want to work on. Getting these violent runes now, or hopefully getting these violent runes, because I have pulled a few runes, but nothing significant. I have some okay shield runes that I can't wait to bring up, and what I mean by okay is they're 6-star, and they're about the quality of Swift rune that I would typically keep, or not Swift rune, energy rune I would keep from Giants. So I consider shield to be a fairly equal offset with energy, because even though, or even greater at this point in the game, because even though I'm not getting the energy set bonus, which is the HP percent bonus on my unit, shield sets are really going to help my speed team have a little bit more staying power, at least in terms of putting a shield set on Galleon, which means I am going to have to find some fast shield runes. So slot 4 and slot 5 shield runes, or whatever other slots I could switch out, like a slot 6 would be cool too. I am going to be looking for shield runes though, just because shield runes will help my team have more survivability, and it will really help with that mid-boss area where the tower will sometimes single out my unit. So I think that putting shield sets on at least one of my monsters, which would be Galleon in this case, would be pretty impactful in terms of consistency on my team. So I am looking out for shield runes. I'll show you guys some of the runes I have. So here's just a look through these. So this is a reappraisal rune, of course. This rune turned out weird. Let's see, accuracy slot. I mean, there's nothing crazy here. Again, a legendary defense percentage rune, which is kind of weird. I don't know who I would ever use that on, because it's defense based, but it's got attack substats as well as the crit and crit damage. Again, some legendary runes, and at this point I've kept quite a few legendary runes. This rune's fairly okay, crit rate and attack, as well as some defense percentage, so it could be decent for somebody as long as we avoid resistance there. This was the rune you get for fusing, or not for fusing Vero. It's a rune you get from one of the challenges, and I have a few of those. Let's see. Here's just a 6-star attack percentage that has speed and crit rate, and of course it rolled a max roll and a speed, which was nice. Here's an attacker-based rune, which is fairly decent. These are the kind of runes I look for, and I can't wait to talk about these kind of runes in the what runes to keep for beginners, mid-game, and late-game video. I can't wait for that video because I'm really passionate about, different runes and what to keep at different levels of the game. And I'm just going through. This is that great rune I powered up on stream that one day, the Violent Rune. But I mean, I've got a lot of runes that are like, okay, that's cool. I got this rune today. I'm like, it's 5-star, but it's max crit rate, max attack, and it's got some accuracy too. Which are the primary stats I look for on runes? Some of these runes I don't keep. I don't know if I've mentioned it in many videos, but Starry Night actually farms on my on my account when I'm not on it, what to farm. And so if you don't know who Starry Night is, and you haven't hopped by the stream before, Starry Night is my main moderator, and my girlfriend, of course. And she's on there, and she is consistently, farming on my account, making sure that I'm not wasting energy anytime that I'm on one of the other, whatever, 5 accounts I work on. And so, oftentimes I'll come back and I'll have some extra little runes sitting around there. But that's why I was mentioning some of these weird runes you'll see here, because I will make a note of, what runes to keep at what different levels of the game, and, how, later in the game you don't want to keep the same runes, blah, blah, blah. It's a long thing, which is why it's going to be an hour-long video. I'm going to see if there's a way to possibly make a shortened down version as well, but anyways, these are the Violent Runes that I've been picking up. Like I said, nothing substantial. None of the support Violent Runes that I've wanted yet. I am looking for runes equivalent to the Swift runes that I would normally keep, so that would mean, 6 speed, and some roll into accuracy, 5 to 8% roll into accuracy. And monsters that I'm thinking about putting Violent on, of course, are monsters that I've waited forever to use. Eladriel, I can't wait to put Eladriel on like a Violent Guard set. I do plan on using him in the Water Rift Beast, the one that's based on healing. That might actually be, no, that's the Wind Rift Beast, like frontline there. He's also good in frontline raids, I believe, with the heals. He can be okay, just because you build him on a high defense and HP build anyways, so he can have some usability there. Other monsters that I want to put on Violent, of course, are the Wind Monkey, and who else do we have here? I do want some Violent Damage Dealer sets for my Amir. I want a Support Violent Revenge set for my Mav. I thought that was fairly important just because in Mav, Violent procs can really push you further in TOA hard, just because the extra cooldown reduction on all your units with that third skill can be really, really insane. And so, I picked up some Revenge runes here. Like I said, most of the runes I've been picking up from dragons are basically attacker oriented. I have a few runes that aren't, but most of these runes, like this rune, I'm really happy about this rune. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good, at least in terms of what I would expect this far into Dragons. So my expectations in terms of rune drops from Dragons are, or at least compared to my rune drops from Giants, I think it's going to be about the same amount of time to get the runes that I'm looking for. So I was in Giants for what, 5 months? No, 6 months. So it is now April, or late April. So I started my account in October of 2017, which means 6 months flew by till April. So it was 6 months. The first few weeks were going into Giants. I was in Giants in 3 weeks, I believe. Giants B10. And so I farmed about 5 months, 5.5 months in Giants. So I expect another 5.5 months in Dragons before I'm even remotely happy with the runes I have. Of course, along the way, I may make another stop into Giants if I find a unit that really, really needs Giants runes and can be really impactful to my game. So that may happen in the meantime. Otherwise, I will stay in Dragons. There's a lot of runes that I'm looking for. Of course, in the meantime, I'm also doing Guild Wars as well, hoping for a Theo or a Tessarian or multiple of both. Those are the two efforts that I would build multiples of. Of course, multiple Theos because primary damage dealer Theo and a more tanky Theo for like a defense would be fun. Also, Tessarian, you could build a damage dealer Tessarian or like a speed crit damage HP Tessarian, as well as one meant for TOA, like a speed HP Tessarian. Other things I'm keeping in mind, especially as of recently, are the Rift Beasts, or the Elemental Beasts, and the, of course, the Raid, the different stages of Raid. So not necessarily building teams yet, or at least in terms of putting runes on any monsters, but I am, however, keeping an eye out and getting ready to build up all the monsters that I plan to use in those teams. And I think I'm fairly prepared. Actually, the only thing that I'm really looking for in terms of a monster for, the Rift Beasts or Raid is actually Chasun, which is, fairly ironic because when I did have Chasun on my very first account, I kind of viewed her as less than she is, and I still kind of view her less than what I believe the community does. A lot of people, refer to her as the best healer ever, and a crazy game-changing unit. And she can be crazy with some really lucky violent procs, but where I see her usability become really, really great is in Raid. She awakens into resistance, which helps you there. She's got really tanky stats, and you want to build her with high HP. She's got 2 big heals that will generally influence your team. She's got the attack buff and the glancing, so she's got a bunch of things that you really, really want for Raid. And so I think as a Raid frontliner, she can really, really put in some work. And so that's the one place I'm really, really looking to use her. And when I get around to Raid, I believe I'm going to start building the Panda, just because around the time I'm going to be working on Raid, the dungeon that I'm going to be inside of is going to be Necro. And so I need or I'm going to want the Panda for that, just for a little bit of consistency. I know it's not completely necessary, but I might as well, as he's not too hard to fuse, and he could bring a lot to the team in terms of debuffs on the Raid boss. So I really blabbered for a long time. This is a little bit longer than some of my usual videos. I hope you guys enjoyed the status update, and don't worry, I did not forget about uploading videos to you guys. I've just been busy with other things, with life. Of course, right? And working on bigger content that I can't wait to upload. Look out for it this week. Also, look out for the Leica account update and some little something else. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey guys, it's West again. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more.